Yes, hello to the listeners. This is episode 28. So, if you're still with me on this amazing journey that I'm on, then welcome. And today I'm joined by Carrie. So, Carrie, would you like to do a little bit of intro to yourself, please?
Sure. I'm Carrie Sutterly. I live in the state of Maine in the United States. I am late diagnosed ADHD, CPTSD with RSD, a little bit of PCOS, diabetes, all of the lovely things that make us incredibly multi-layered humans. I am also the mom of two ADHD young adults at this point. Um, I'm a professional that works at a university, also a adult degree completer. That's what we call it here in the States. So I obtained my bachelor's and my master's as a working professional adult, which also had its challenges being neurodivergent. Most of my diagnoses around neurodivergence came as I was navigating menopause, as many of us do, finding those sorts of things. So that's a little bit of my background in terms of this content. I am a full-blown geek. I love all things sci-fi and fantasy. One of my favorite, kind of go-tos or coping mechanisms, if you will. Those are my deep dives when I need them. Um, but yeah, I think just really excited to be part of this conversation.
Amazing. There's so many things there that we could start picking apart. Um, because yeah, but I mean, tick, 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 tick. I don't have diabetes, but I have ADHD. I'm told that I have autistic traits, but I'm not sure if I would ever get a diagnosis. Yeah, I just for whatever reason I don't know. I do see traits like sensory overload for me, so noises, sounds, smells is really kind of becomes quite overwhelming. But like yourself, complex PTSD as well for me, depression, anxiety, and yeah, fibromyalgia, and just perimenopause and menopause. Like literally, you've ticked all of the boxes. It's
Like
like,
we
oh,
do.
you're my person. You're definitely
Yeah.
my person. You know the geeky stuff. So, would you like to kind of just tell the listeners or the viewers a little bit about your diagnosis journey, please, Carrie?
Yeah. Like I said, I've got two young adults now. I had two children I was raising that my husband and I, got a diagnosis for our son early on. Um, our daughter came later because she's a girl, and of course, it presents differently.
Yeah.
And through all of that journey, and knowing that it existed in the rest of my family, I have two sisters who also had autistic or ADHD children. Um, it had never occurred to me that I could possibly be that way myself. Because we mask, we learn to cope, we white knuckle, and we just cope, right? So when I found myself, you know, approaching this perimenopause in my life, I want to say it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I'm 51 now. Um, all of a sudden, I could not figure out what was going on with me. Sudden, brain fog and unable to cope and juggle and multitask like I used to. Never mind the fact that multitasking is bad for your brain. Um, those are the things that we're taught to do. Um, but I just found myself struggling in so many different areas, and I could not figure out for the life of me why. I had been diagnosed with anxiety previously and had been treated for that for years. And I thought, well, maybe my meds just aren't working.
Yeah.
Um, and then, I had spoken to somebody who was an adult, who had been late diagnosed, and she talked about being neurospicy and just owning it completely. And it made me pause and think about it. And I thought, oh, is that what's going on with me? And so I started talking to, my doctor, and kind of getting some things in place. I had a medication manager who I then talked to her about it. We got some assessments done. And lo and behold, I'm, you know, combined type ADHD. I have the autism spectrum disorder. I hate the word disorder applied to these things because it's just a difference in your brain. Um, but you know, it just everything just clicked into place. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, well, no kidding, that makes sense, you know. And so I started going to therapy because I had a job that was pretty professional. I worked at a university and found myself struggling with that. I was already a student as an adult and was really struggling with that aspect and really needed something to kind of help me transition into, okay, great, I know this thing now, but oh my God, I still can't do anything. Now what? So it was quite it's been a journey these last few years, to be honest. Highs and lows. Some of it has been really bad. But my therapist kind of helped me understand that, you know, with ADHD, it's a many tentacled octopus, if you will. It's got a little bit of a depression. It's got a little bit of anxiety. It's got this. It's got this. It's like she said. And when you deal with the ADHD, then those tentacles start to kind of curl back under, and you're just dealing with this one thing. Until I got the ASD diagnosis, and so I joke that I take my ADHD meds so I can autism better. Because what do you do to treat autism? You don't. It's just who you are. Um, but yeah, so that has been my diagnosis journey thus far. You know, I've layered in the CPTSD within the last year. Also, kind of layering in, oh well, that makes sense because you know adults or children dealing with trauma are more susceptible when they are neurodivergent. So, dot, 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 we're connecting all these things. So, and that's stuff I'm still dealing with, still in therapy with, and being medically treated for. But just learning how to navigate. That's a lot, but
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, for even for the listeners, even for me, it's like there's so many different layers to being neurodivergent, and there's so many different things that you need to kind of learn about, or you need to. I always say, like, the symptoms, like your symptoms and your children's symptoms, my symptoms, my friend's symptoms, they're all different, and they're different each day, aren't they? And we can do different
yeah.
things in different days. But I know for a fact that for women, you know, I call us the lost generation because we're only just starting to be recognized as actually having ADHD because the symptoms present or can present very differently. So it can be more, you know, inattentive, more all your hyperactivity is inside, it's in your brain, it's in your thinking, it's, you know, and yes, there's massive links between hormones and ADHD
Mm,
symptoms. You know, estrogen is directly responsible for dopamine in a woman's brain.
mhm,
So whenever the estrogen drops, so before your period, postpartum, after you've had a baby, and then perimenopause,
yeah.
menopause, like you're like this, like all the
It's
time.
all these stages all the time. It's like nothing ever has time to settle out before you get shifted into the next level.
Exactly. And I think the menopause or the perimenopause is not necessarily talked about a lot, like in general. But when it comes to us late diagnosed women, a lot of women I know are starting to get diagnosed either after they've had their children have been diagnosed because
Mhm.
the heritability of ADHD and autism is 86%. So if you've got a child that's diagnosed, you probably need to look at either parent. Exactly, so you're looking at yourself. And I think, you know, perimenopause and menopause for us late diagnosed women is horrific sometimes, and I don't
Mm,
say horrific lightly because I don't like the clickbait on social
yeah.
media where, but it's just, and it's not talked about a lot either. And you know, it's like I just feel some days like I just fall apart because, you know,
Mhm.
I was 50 last year and I struggle with everything like you.
Yeah.
it's day to day. It's just so yeah. What are your experiences with the menopause, perimenopause, kind of on top of everything else that you just talked about?
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, I'm on HRT as well. So
Yeah, me
that
too.
certainly helped in terms of the brain fog and things like that. Um, I, and I still want to dig into some of this research, but I know that, you know, with PCOS, I had some surgeries done earlier when I was younger, and I was on HRT then for a short period of time until my
Mhm.
doctor said, "Well, you can't take that anymore because it will give you breast cancer." Well, we now know that's not true,
Yeah.
but if I had been able to stay on it, would my symptoms have been managed better and not gotten to the severity that it got to? Probably. But I still did end up having this severe onset, I would say.
Yeah.
And it came in the fall, was it of 23 or 24? I lose track. But anyway, I would say that, you know, it was in the fall. I was at a conference for work. Um, I had been um, sort of in a leadership role and really was feeling a strong sense of imposter syndrome because I know that I'm just me, and these people don't know that I'm just me, and there's no way I could possibly be sitting at this table with these people. You know, they've all got master's degrees or PhDs, and that's not me, so I don't belong here clearly. Um, and there was sort of a spiral that was happening at that time. It was about October-ish, end of October, and I remember, you know, calling my doctor's office and saying, I need to see somebody and I need to see somebody now, and getting put off and put off and put off. And I would keep calling back and I would be in tears because there was just this intense panic that I knew something was wrong. I knew I needed help, but nobody was available to help me, and it just kept getting worse and worse. And I would say it wasn't until January that I was actually able to see somebody. So all of those months, all of that panic, all of that, um, you know, feeling of just being lost and not knowing for sure what was wrong,
Yeah.
was a really hard, dark period for me.
Yeah. And I mean, um my journey was slightly different. So I've had polycystic ovaries all my life. I've had so many cysts removed. And when I was 40, the gynecologist just said to me, I'm just going to take that ovary and the fallopian tube out. So I had it removed. But he did not tell me at the time that obviously only having one ovary is more hormonal, like more
Mhm.
hormones are released, less hormones are released. And
Yeah.
it was kind of like a slow journey for me,
Mm.
like because I used to be very diplomatic.
Hmm.
I because obviously with ADHD, you know, the RSD thing is huge and has been
Yes.
debilitating. But for me, one of the hardest things to manage is the emotional hyperarousal. So not knowing
Hmm.
that I'm going to lose whatever it is, and like I'm just as surprised as the people that I'm with, maybe because I didn't know that I was starting to get, and it's just there, it's boom, and it's
Yeah.
like that was happening more and more with me. And then I just became really angry, and my
Mm.
partner and my you know, like my friends were just like, what is going on for you, because you just really, and it's not really a natural kind of thing for me to be angry all the time anyway. One of my
Mm.
friends sat me down one day and she said to me, but please, Emma, go and see your doctor. You've got
Mm.
perimenopause, like, and it's almost like, it's like with the ADHD. I didn't even know I had ADHD until someone
Right.
pointed it out. And it's like, you know, but it was just, it was almost like a gradual process for a few years. But then it was just, it got so intense that it wasn't and it was something that I almost didn't recognize within myself, because
Mm.
I didn't until my friend pointed it out, my partner. And you know, thankfully for me, I was given HRT as well.
Yeah.
um and you know, I'm not worried about taking it. Breast cancer, that's a
Right.
possibility, but it's a very small
Very likely.
percentage of that is possible. But the HRT is just it's like it doesn't get rid of everything, but it
No.
almost it helps you to be able to manage day
Yes.
by day. And I don't know about you guys in America, but in the UK, a lot of the GPs, the doctors, they don't even have to do the menopause training. It's an addition to their kind of normal training that they do.
Right.
So a lot of them are not even trained in menopause. And I had to go back a few times, and I saw my usual male doctor. He did blood tests. No, your hormone levels are fine. And then I
Right.
went back about a month or two later, and I didn't even know, I didn't even know. I think this was just coming out of COVID, maybe. And the ADHD medication that I take was out of stock, and they were giving me different brands. And I was just like, it was just so much going on at the same time. And it was like, I went back to see a lady doctor, and thank goodness she said, right, we're going on symptoms. We're not going on hormone levels. Like, what are your symptoms? And because I always take my partner with me, because I'm really forgetful as well, he came with me, and he was obviously able to kind of tell her how I was. And she was like, I think you need to go on a HRT, and you need to go on it now. And since then, I think I need to get my dosages increased, because I felt a shift, like towards the end of last year. I felt like it was getting difficult to manage. So I think I need to go back and ask them to increase the dosage, because I don't think that because in my mind I thought, oh yeah, it's HRT, they're going to give me it and it's going to be fine, and I'll take the same, have the same dosage. But I don't think that's the case. I think, I need to go back and ask them to increase it, or increase something, because I just get really angry, and then I feel guilty and I cry because I get angry, or I snap, and it's just.
And we can be, I think, against what a lot of perceptions are, we can be very, very empathetic, and we mirror back what other folks are feeling, and we internalize that. And so when we know we're the cause of that harm or that hurt, it can be really difficult to then manage that, because then we're feeling twice as bad because we caused that harm.
And of course, and we're very, very, very sensitive human beings, very empathetic, very compassionate. So that kind of really resonates with me. Like, upsetting other people is, I don't like it. I don't like I want my diplomacy skills back. Like, I want to be able to be diplomatic and sit on the fence and think, oh yeah, that's all right, that's her opinion, that's my opinion. And this is just a little example that I'm using right now. But I think, and the brain fog as well.
Yes. And that's hard. And I think when we talk about, being adults in education, like when you're working on a degree yourself, how much harder that experience is, because you're dealing with brain fog, because you may take twice as long as your peers to complete whatever needs to be completed, to retain what everybody else is just memorizing. I find it very challenging.
And for me, I study 100% online, so I don't go into a campus. So I don't know if you've done your studies the same, or if you go into a campus and actually learn that way. So for me, like, studying online is kind of an added layer of challenges. So how have you found your studies then? Because we were talking about it briefly before I hit record. So do you want to talk us through your kind of experiences with academia?
Sure. I think I went to college at the traditional age, right after high school, and was not successful. I now know why I wasn't successful. I didn't know a lot about how my brain worked, or what I was juggling. So I attempted that. It didn't work. Came home, ended up going to work, and then life happens. So marriage and kids and all of that. And then I decided in 2017 that I wanted to go back and complete what I had. Um, and so first I got my associate's 2-year degree. I did that in a very short amount of time. I was able to transfer stuff in and take a couple of in-person classes because I was working at the university then.
Okay.
And so that was a benefit I had. So why not?
Yeah, of course.
And then transitioned right into my bachelor's and took a blend of online and in-person classes, which both had benefits and challenges to them. Because then I've got to allow my brain to shift from one to the other. And I know that now. I wasn't diagnosed at that time, and I would give myself such a hard time because I'm like, oh, I can do this when I'm doing it here. Why am I having a hard time doing it over here? But I got through all of that, and we all find our things that we like hyper focus on and can't let go of. And for me, that was my education. And so there was nothing else going on. Like that was my hyper focus. And there were points where I was taking, I think one semester I took a full load plus a couple winter courses to just kind of get myself done while working 2 jobs because I was part-time at the college and part-time at another job. So, but just like pushing myself, go, 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 because I had this singular goal and I was going to get it done no matter what. And so it was a challenge, but I got through it. But I also hadn't hit perimenopause yet. And that happened when I started my master's program. And I had been in my master's program for a couple semesters and decided to take it slowly, part-time, because I didn't want to overwhelm myself. And I'd been in for about a year, and that's when all of these symptoms started popping up and I started to struggle. And I really got to the point where it's like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't think. I can't, do whatever. And I ended up leaving the program I was in and trying to find something else to kind of meet my needs in a better way. And struggled there too. I probably tried on, 2 or 3 other options for completing a master's, but none of them would take in the credits that I had. So I ended up coming back to my original program to finish. And like I said, it was a hybrid. But what I found as I went on was that there was so much of it that I was really struggling to comprehend the reading. Because when I started before, I was the person who I needed paper. I printed everything out. I had multicolored highlighters because those are fun. I had multicolored pens because those are fun. And they'd work for about 2 weeks and then they'd go by the wayside. And I'd be like, okay, now I need to find another strategy. And that strategy would work for maybe a month. And then it wasn't working anymore. And so that's been like my entire experience. It's like from one thing to another to another. And when you keep trying these different strategies and feel like you're failing at them, that does a number on your self-confidence, and you start talking to yourself, what's wrong with you? Why can't you do this? You did this before. Why can't you do this now? And I've kind of come to full circle of understanding that that's just how my brain works. And just because it's not working now doesn't mean 6 months from now I can't pick up that same strategy. I need to cycle through them. So, okay, here's what I'm doing to keep myself on track now. That doesn't work. What did I use before? Let me go find that again, see if that'll work right now for however long it works, and just kind of rotate between them. Because I really do find that it takes me probably twice as long as my peers to read, to complete assignments. There are structures in place, at universities to help students. But they're not always what we need. I think you had a discussion with Maria about this and talked about how, you can get extended time on an exam. You can get, somebody to take notes for you. Or you can get like an alternate testing space if you need an alternate testing space. That's not what I need. I need to take the notes myself. I need to be able to like physically write it out. Even if it's an electronic pen, I need to actually write it out to be able to get it from here and back and forth to understand it. I need to info dump. I need to just throw it all out there, even if it's garbage, and then go back and clean it up. And that takes time that the other students aren't taking. So, but
I
but I
always
got it
used to,
done. But it's been hard.
and please, we can tell the listeners, the watchers. So you did graduate. I
I
can
did.
post a little picture of you in your graduation gown and hat because
Yeah.
you sent me one. You did graduate, so you did get there.
Yep. It took
And
me 5 years, but I now have my master's in higher education. Thank you.
congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now you can, well, I was going to say now you can get rid of that imposter syndrome, but unfortunately, it's always going to be there,
I'm
isn't
waiting
it?
for
It's
that
like,
to happen still.
I'm just like I get it with some of the staff and some people on LinkedIn because I'm like, my partner tells me after saying this, but I just say I'm just little old me, but I'm not like that's so dismissive, sorry, of what I do, because it's like I'm just little old me, but I'm not. Like, I've had similar experiences with you in education, so I started studying psychology in September 23, and before that I tried and failed so many different things, and that kind of almost became like that self-fulfilling prophecy that I'm not going to I'm not going to be able to do this, but I'm going to try it. And I think the main thing that I did when I started my degree is by the second module, I was just so overwhelmed, and I just thought none of this makes sense. Like, and I used to say to staff and to other students, like, they're almost teaching me in Chinese, and I have to translate it from English to Chinese, and then or whatever language, and then do the academic writing in the Chinese and then get my understanding. Sorry, so yeah, translate what they're teaching me in from it to my language, and then I have to translate it back to write it in like an assignment or whatever they ask. And like you, it is exhausting. And the only reason why I haven't dropped out of my studies is because I reached out for help. I asked for support, and I showed up for myself. And in the beginning, like, people were saying, so what do you need? I was like, I don't know what I need. I've never been a distance learner. Yeah, exactly. I've never been a distance learner like you. You've never been a hybrid learner. I've never kind of done any higher education. Like, I did quite a few things, so I didn't have to do like an access course to get in. But I've never, and it's like, but now I can tell you exactly what I need, because obviously I've had the experiences. But when I started, people used to say, so what do you need? And I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, well, how can we help you if we don't know what you need? And I'm like, that's your job, is to help me find out what I need.
And the fact that our systems don't know that, and I would say a lot of that probably has to do with that difference between male and female. And the way our brains are wired, the way we present. I mean, that's a broad generality, recognizing that there's a whole spectrum of that as well. But I would say, like, extra time on tests and note takers and things like that. I know my son did really well with supports in school when he needed them.
Yeah.
My daughter, she didn't need any of that at all. And what she did need, she didn't know what she needed, and then they couldn't help her. So those supports don't exist. Sorry. It's like, you would think after all of these years, all of these decades, that specifically in higher ed, we could do better with supports.
A lot better. A million times better, I think. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I know there are support systems that are in place, not just in the UK, but globally, where you are, where you work, where you've studied. I know there are support systems in place, and yeah, like we've just highlighted, a significant issue with any support is you don't necessarily know what you need. And I've had to kind of learn in a way that's, because they teach you in a one size fits all, and this probably happens globally, so they teach you in a neurotypical way. So you've got to get from A to B, and to get to A to B, you need to do, like, blood, this, and this. But the reason why I felt quite frustrated is, and this is a psychology thing. It's not a me thing. It's because there's so many different points of view and so much research that's been done. It's like deciding which bit to keep and which bit not. But I do feel like throughout my psychology, like the studying I've done, I've been on a journey of self-discovery. And I was told when I was a kid by my mum, "You're thick." I was told at school, "You're thick." Teachers, students like bullied as an adult in work, because the way that I do anything is very different. And because I didn't know that I had ADHD until I was 43 years old, I just thought I was just like trying to manage a life. I raised my daughter as a single parent. She's 27 now and she's a midwife. She's done really well with her life. And, I'm sitting here at night time sometimes thinking, what the is going on? Like, I'm just exhausted. And all of the time you feel like you're just scraping through life. And if anyone could see us internally and see everything that's kind of going on, like, the racing thoughts, you've got to do this and this and this and this and that. It's just so intense, and it takes us so much longer to do anything. And like you, I chose to study part-time only because I didn't want to get overwhelmed, but also I wanted to make sure that I understand what they're teaching me. And although not all of it is interesting, it's still something. Exactly. Quantitative research methods. I mean, come on, statistics and numbers. I literally cried 5 or 6 times throughout both of them modules, because I was just like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Why do I have to do this? But you have to be able to progress. But yeah, sorry, I just went on a bit of a tangent then.
But I'm telling you, like, I just finished statistics. That was one of my last courses along with our capstone. And I struggled. My grades were fine, but I struggled so much with it. And I think a piece of it is, and I think this kind of veers into the ASD territory, because I can be so black and white. And then if this isn't going to benefit me, or it's not something that I can identify as useful, then why am I going to expend the energy that I know it's going to take me when I'm already struggling and already maxed out mentally to put effort into this? Like, I don't want to. Like, it's that opposition. Like, don't tell me I need to, because I won't.
Don't tell me what to do.
I'm
not doing it.
Yeah. Like, no, don't tell me that. But there are things that we just have to learn to push through, and I totally get that. I've got a mantra. I've got a mentor and colleague who talks to me about choosing your hard, and that it really is a choice. And I've kind of like reinvented that for myself. It's like, no, I don't always have to choose my hard, because that puts me in a different brain space. I just need to come back to, I can do hard things. I have done hard things. I can do hard things. I may not want to, but I can. And just being able to look at it in the lens of that positive piece, not looking at the negative, not looking at how bad it feels, really flipping the narrative to, see, here's this list of things that I can tick off that I've done that were really hard. And I may not like the compliments or be able to take them well, or be able to internalize that I'm more than just little old me, right?
Yeah.
But I've got this list that I'm keeping of things that I did do that. I did do that. So I can do this one thing. I can't, I'm not going to shout from the rooftops that I'm this wonderful, accomplished person. That's not me.
Yeah.
But I can sit and now quietly recognize what I have accomplished in my little chair. Do you know what I mean? And that's been a good shift for me, because there have been a lot of days where that was not the case at all. So
yeah, you should be proud of yourself. I'm proud of you. Well done. Like, you've done amazing. And I think credit where credit's due, because I know I do understand how much hard work it takes to kind of even just get even just pass for us. And
Mhm.
yeah, so congratulations, well done. Like a massive kind
Thank you.
of
Thank you.
congratulations for getting your masters, because I know even just the undergrad for me it's just, and I
It's a
think
lot.
the beauty, yeah, and I think there is a lot of beauty in it as well, because when we turn up and have these conversations, um, we're kind of, because I always when I first started studying, I thought that it was just me that had like struggled with certain things. So taking in information, like they teach you so much information at once that the brain is just feeling like it's going to explode.
It's
And I
full.
thought that was, yeah, and I thought that was just me because I'm me and I've got ADHD. But no, it's not. Every student feels like that at times. Yes, there are even neurotypical students that struggle with lots of things that as ADHD or that one I can never say, ADHD, is that right?
Yeah.
So I'm sorry,
No.
I tongue tied.
Yeah.
But like every student at times struggles, and it was only when my program leader said that to me, and I was like, oh, and then I went quiet and I was reflecting, and she was like she said, I don't want to dismiss your challenges, but I really want you to acknowledge and understand that you're not struggling with these things because you're Emma and because you've got ADHD.
Mhm.
Every student at different times will struggle with these exact same things. And that really was like a profound moment. And I was just like, wow, it's not me, it's everybody.
Right.
And I still have a little problem with like the rigid kind of processes that we have to follow that actually are discrimination. And I will say this
Yes,
out loud because they are, because
they are.
we are forced, or we have to follow the same linear line as everybody else to
Mm.
do the studies. But actually, my kind of advocacy and my narrative on this is it's discrimination. If you can't give us the reasonable adjustments that we need, then you're discriminating against us. And I'm not just talking about education, I'm talking about
Yeah.
work, like in work,
Yeah.
even in
Absolutely.
society, wherever we are, school, anywhere. And we don't need the reasonable adjustments because as an advantage so we can do better. We need them because we have these things that are different about us, and for us to be able to thrive and achieve, not just in education but in life, in our world, in our environments, we need help, we need reasonable adjustments sometimes. And yeah, I think that's a really kind of, that's one thing that I do say a lot, is it's not because we need special treatment. It's nothing like that. It's so then we can thrive and achieve.
Absolutely. And we live and work and learn in settings that were not designed for our brains.
Yeah,
And so when we are bombarded with things that we can't process, we need those supports. They're not
yeah,
frivolous. They
yeah,
are they're needed so that we can operate like anyone else. And I've had good and bad experiences with that, where I've gotten supports I've needed, and then other areas where I did not get the support I've needed, and just figured out how to manage it differently myself,
yeah,
because that's what we do, right?
yeah.
So, um, there's a lot out there in terms of ableism in the way people view disability. And I know that there's a lot of split out there in the narratives around neurodivergence, and a lot of people talking about ADHD and autism and things like that are a superpower.
Hmm.
um, Absolutely in some respects, but in other respects it's not. So it's a struggle, and that's more about the system than it is us ourselves. So um, yeah, but we're capable, and we're
More than
capable of
capable.
amazing things if given the right supports. And I think one of the things that I struggled with, um, going into my final year, was what are my steps? How do I plan them? How do I structure these things? And I worked with um, an academic coach who I was able to meet with once a week, knowing I had that kind of accountability.
Yep.
Helped me structure what I needed to do. I didn't need somebody to draw it out for me or give me a bunch of steps I needed to follow, because I got plenty of that in my life. I don't need anybody else giving me that. But just somebody to challenge me, ask me questions, and then let me figure it out was exactly what I needed. So that, I really think that that helped me get through that final year of planning.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you found that support as well, because I know the value of it. In the UK, we have something called Disabled Students Allowance. So if you've got a disability or you're neurodivergent, you can get access to funding, which basically includes like assisted tech software, but also you can get access to a mentor, a weekly appointment with a mentor, and a study skills tutor, a weekly appointment, study skills tutor. I've changed mine 5 or 6 times now in just nearly 2.5 years, because they just weren't the right fit, or I just, and what you've just explained there is exactly what I found with the lady that now supports me. Like I've seen her through, I think it's 3 or 4 hours I've had with her, and so far it's completely different. And she kind of meets me where I'm at, and she asks me, like, when I had the first appointment with her, I was quite anxious because I'm like 5 or 6, and I've had to and it's not necessarily that there was anything well, there was things wrong, but I'm not going to say them out loud, so I'm not on camera anyway. But there was, it wasn't necessarily like anything I was doing, but I really internalized that as it's my fault.
Right.
Even though I was asking for what I needed and the needs weren't being met, I was still saying that RSD type inner critic, like, it's my fault. Why is this not working? Why do I need to keep changing? But the lady I've got at the moment, like, exactly like you've just explained, like, I need that weekly accountability. I need to be challenged. So she challenges me. We actually talk about like, we go through the assessment briefs. They're written in Chinese sometimes.
Right.
They don't make any sense. Like, it's not ADHD friendly, but we went through them, and she talked about, so because I'm studying at the moment forensic psychology. I actually released 2 modules this time, because they're my last 2 of level 5, which is your second year. So then after this study block, so my study blocks or my module semesters, whatever, are 10 weeks long. So I only ever released 1, but this time I've released 2, and I'm doing occupational psychology as well. But it's working really well, because I have the study skills lady, and I have plans, and I have accountability, and it's like, it's finally when you actually get the right support that works for you. It's incredible. Like, it's just completely different, and but it's that challenge of having to continually say, this is not working for me. Like, can I change again? Like, but having that, because I don't think I said anything for about 6 months. I just kind of got on with my studies the best I could, but it's made me realize that actually the courage to keep saying, this is still not working for me, I need to change, is it's huge.
Well, I mean, I think that's what we struggle with too, because, like, I feel like there are times where I will find confidence in the ability to do something, and I know that I'm doing it well, and then I'll run up against something that is particularly challenging, and think I'm handling it the way I always do, and then come to find out that it's just not working, and then you slip back into, is it me? Is it my communication? Do I not communicate right? Well, I know before I didn't communicate right, so it must be me. Like, and we internalize those things, and those are where moments where I get stuck. And I have kind of created this, like, little, I don't know, guide for myself that I call my stuck strategies, where I stop and I have to question, okay, What are you feeling right now? Hell, I don't know what I'm feeling right now. What do you mean I got to name my emotions? I don't know what I'm feeling. I just don't like it. But I make myself be mindful and go, okay, what am I feeling in my body? What am I feeling in my body? What does that relate to in terms of what I know happens with different emotions? Okay, now I can connect with that emotion. Then what do I do to fix that? So, do I need to get up and go for a walk? Do I need to listen to music? Do I, and I've got like kind of a menu of things that I can do to make myself just kind of calm down. And so that works pretty well for me in most cases, because we do get to those points where we don't know what we used to know about ourselves. It's like we forget,
Yeah.
But that's where I keep coming back to, I can do hard things. I know I can do hard things. Right now, it doesn't feel like it. What do I need? What is my body telling me I need?
And for me, sometimes I just need to step back from everything and just take a time and just allow myself, like physically and mentally, to just kind of, I was going to say switch off, but obviously the brain never switches off, does it? But I just need to go away and do something different. And like a lot of one of the things that I do within like the study block is I need a certain amount of time to just sit and process the information, and that is a study skill. And there's people like, oh yeah, but this and that, and I'm like, no, I because of the way that my ADHD brain is, I have to allow myself a certain amount of time to just process the information.
Yes.
And they're like, what? And I'm like,
yeah, I need processing time, please and thank you. I can't.
Yeah.
You want a response right now. I can't always give it to you. I've got to have time to go back, think about it, maybe think about it twice, maybe think about it 3 times to really question, okay, but what does that mean? Well, maybe it means this. Well, maybe it means that, because then, you've got 100 different possibilities out in front of you. Which one is it? I think there's a tool that I have used within my last, I guess, year of study called Notebook LM. Can I talk about that on air? It's like I'm not
you can talk
promoting
about
anything.
anything you want. Yeah, we're not we're not I don't know.
But Notebook
Talk about
LM would let me upload whatever it was I was reading. And then it will give you like an AI podcast, like a summary of what the content is. And it's 2 like natural sounding people talking back and forth about what the content was. And it will pick up on things that I didn't get the first time I read through it. And I'll go, oh, all right. So then I'll go back and read it again and I'll go, okay, I'm getting that now. And then I can ask it questions about certain things and it will come back with answers. And I'll go, okay, I think I get that now. Like that has been so helpful to me to be able to process it in different ways, because I need that audio a lot of times to process. Because for whatever reason, reading has come really hard to me, and I have been a lifelong reader. I love to read, and sitting down with an actual book and reading actual things, there's been this disconnect. And so how do you manage that? Audiobooks are great, but you can't always do that for school. So that was a tool that was really helpful for me in terms of like trying to process that information.
I have to listen on audio. And it's weird because like I saw something on LinkedIn a few years ago when I first started studying, and there was a lady that said, yeah, listen on audio, but get up and move around while you're playing the audio, because I was like, I thought about that for quite a long, and I'm like, what do you mean I'm not concentrating on what's being said? But strangely and amazingly so, my brain still takes the information in, but I'm able to take the information in and process it easier like by
Mhm.
not sitting here and forcing myself to listen, get up and move around. I'm still taking the information in, and I'm like, this is like groundbreaking. Like this is, I wish I could
Yeah,
find the lady that said it. It was quite a few years ago now, but
yeah,
I've actually, sorry, I've just written notes because I'll do that when
yeah,
I have different guests. So I'm going to look at that notebook LM. But I've
yeah,
got a app on my phone. It's called Speechify.
yeah,
I never usually pay for subscriptions because I just don't. Because
yeah.
I won't. But this one I've paid. I paid for a yearly subscription, and I've also uploaded the extension onto my laptop for when I'm studying,
Awesome.
and it's very very natural voice, and
Mhm.
again it does exactly the same thing. I can
Yes.
upload ebooks onto my phone and it reads them out to me. I
Yep.
can use it on my laptop if I'm on websites or I've got research papers that I need to read. It just reads it out for
Yeah.
me, and you can set like different voices.
Mhm.
And one of them is Snoop Dogg, and Snoop Dogg is the coolest dude, right?
Yes, of
But one of
course.
the voices, so having Snoop Dogg read out like a neuroscience or some kind of genetic research paper, it just makes it a little bit more fun and
Right.
entertaining, and it makes it like there's the novelty there then,
I was
isn't
gonna
there?
say it's novel, and that's what our brains need.
Exactly. And it turns something that can be quite dry and boring and
Mhm.
very scientific into it just, and that's what I need. I need to have a little bit of kind of humor, or I need animated or
Mhm.
something. And then yeah, so yeah, so Snoop Dogg, thanks to Snoop Dogg, hashtag
Okay.
Snoop Dogg. I
Yeah.
might have to hashtag him in it, but yeah, it is
Yeah.
hilarious. Like, and it's not very expensive. It was only a small amount of money, and it's definitely like I think I looked the other day, and I've had it not a year in August this year, and I think I've already done like 1,200 hours of listening,
Wow.
if that makes any sense. So
It
it's
does.
literally, it's
Yeah.
completely, utterly transformed everything. And also when I'm studying, I struggle. Academic writing is my biggest challenge because it's the
Mm.
working memory, isn't it? And you've got to remember what you're writing, then you've got to write this, that. So what I do is I create a mind map,
Ooh.
and I have the topic in the middle, and then I add to it by bit, but I make it really colourful. Um, and
Mhm.
also with the software that I use, which is called MindView, you can then export it onto a Word document, and you've got your brief kind of descriptions of what needs to go where when you're doing the academic
Mhm.
writing. And it
Yeah.
just makes it so much easier because to start with it's colorful, it's creative, it's different,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
sitting for me and writing on a blank piece of paper is painful and it's
Yeah.
hard work.
Yeah.
So it's just something a little bit different that I do. That
Yeah.
then you've got like your brief notes on the Word document as well. So then you can then think, oh, okay, yeah, no, and then you go away and you find the research and then you add to it and all that. It just
Mhm.
makes it again. It's the novelty and the creativity
Absolutely.
that I prefer.
And you get that visual stimulation,
Yeah,
which, I don't know how much dopamine is actually attached to that, but it is what we're looking for in completing these tasks. And I think, visuals have really helped me as well. Not just in, my individual work, but also like in my bigger plan when I was working on things. I had a visual on my wall um, of myself rock climbing because I did that when I was in my undergrad as a young person. And so I've got a little image of myself that I can move up this wall, and I've got different points in my journey noted. And as I've completed courses and things like that, I'm moving my little self up this climb so I can visually see that I'm making progress. It's a little thing, but like those are the things that we need because then that's that motivation that maybe we're lacking other times.
yeah. And I think even when they're difficult topics, like we've talked about your research methods, statistics, even I think we show the true value of ourselves as we when we have to kind of do them things, and they are, I think, probably triple or quadruple more work we have to put in because there's no excitement or novelty in it. I think it's through them times when we keep going no matter what happens, and we get the work done and hopefully get decent grades, although they're not the best ones with things that we passed.
Yeah.
I think that's really important to highlight as well, because I mean, I suppose with neurotypical students, there's things that they do and don't like. It's not just us because, we're different. It's everybody. But yeah, there's some students that I've met and they're like, I love statistics. And I'm just like, no, thank. They made me cry because I just didn't understand it.
Well, that's it. Like I love a good puzzle. Give me a puzzle. I'm going to figure it out. I like a good challenge. That's fun. That's novel. So fantastic. However, if it doesn't make sense to me, I don't have the connection to it. My statistics course was online, so I'm not getting the regular interaction. So I've got recorded videos, of course, but then I found myself going, okay, if I can recognize the pattern in what my professor is presenting, I can look at the problem for this week and match things up and go, okay, I'm just going to transpose all this stuff and this is the answer. And those I got good grades on.
Yeah.
But I wasn't necessarily learning why. I was just going through the motions. And so when I got to elements where I had to understand why, oh my God, the hours spent just banging my head against the wall trying to figure out, okay, but this doesn't work. Why? But I think that's just part of our journey and trying to figure out what works for us and what doesn't.
I think for myself as well is I just it's gone. I don't know. It's
and we do that too, right?
Just gone. Yeah. It's gone. I can't remember what I was going to say now, but yeah. So how have you managed being a parent, neurodivergent parent, and having neurodivergent children? Completely different topic, but
nope. Again, that's where my journey with neurodivergence started. Was when my son was diagnosed. We found out very early on because there was at 18 months, there was this sudden regression in skills, and all of a sudden things he was able to do, he couldn't do or stopped doing. Getting him evaluated was difficult too, because he was absolutely brilliant. So on one end of the spectrum in their testing, he was testing off the charts, and on the other end, he was really low. So it was like almost a diagnosis of sort of, a developmental disorder. And because they're not going to diagnose these things until they're much older. But that, that was something we dealt with early on. Really got him some supports and help early on. And of course, my daughter was absolutely brilliant, still is to this day. But she, there were red flags that I see now in terms of how she presented and what was going on. She would connect with people that were much older than her, and she would connect with people that were much younger than her, but her own peer group, forget about it. That connection wasn't there. There was that social piece that just didn't fit quite right. And we got her diagnosis, I think, when she was in middle school, and then started getting her the support she needed too. So, I was navigating, all of the different things that you do in these systems where, what are the policies? How do you deal with these diagnoses? How do you advocate for them at school to get the supports that they need? All of those different hoops that you have to jump through to get them what they need. But I think we did a pretty good job, managing emotions when they changed as hormones come into play as they get older. I will say that, as young adults, that brings its own challenges. I've got one that was very successful and just graduated with his undergrad. Took him a little extra time, but he got there. The other one, you know, she's been trying, but it's not her path. And I think it's a lot of that, well, I'm not finding value in this, so why bother kind of
Yep.
mindset that we get stuck in, especially as girls or women. Um,
Yep.
and so, you know, I would say she's been successful in other ways. So it's been interesting to see the split in how they have both developed, knowing that they both have very similar diagnoses, but it impacts them differently.
Yeah.
And of course, with anything, it impacts all of us differently from each other. I will say, seeing some of the things in my daughter that she has struggled with are things that I had to, not being diagnosed, figure out and white knuckle and, you know, just mask and cope, that she has not done those things, can be very triggering for me
Yeah.
because I did it. So I know you can do it. I know you're smart enough, but that's not where she's at. She's not that person. So trying to give her that space
Yeah.
has been a challenge for me personally.
Yeah.
But again, she's absolutely brilliant, talented artist, like can do amazing things, and she's still on a journey to figure out her path. Um, and as a mom, you want your kids to not struggle the way maybe you have, or you know, have more success than you had, you know, navigating things. And I think both of them have done amazing in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. But navigating that has been a challenge. But I think, you know, going through that as a parent, um, you know, trying to be sensitive to their needs being very different than their peers, set me up for a little bit of success when I finally realized myself, like, okay, so they've I've walked them all through this. Like, you get wound up, what do you need to do? You need to stop, you need to decompress, you need to breathe, you need to do whatever it is that works for you. And, you know, going, okay, I've heard that. Box breathing. Okay. Yep. So now I need to figure out how to do that for myself. You know, it's been really interesting to try and work that into my life after having taught them.
I think a lot of the time as well is we need to kind of we need to learn what's going on for us personally, and for children it must be even more difficult because you don't really kind of get that wisdom and understanding until you get a little bit older and you're able to fully understand, you know,
Yeah.
what's going on. For me and my daughter, like my daughter's definitely neurodivergent, but
Mhm.
she's just like, no, I'm not. Like she's yeah, I'm just like you are. And
Yeah.
she's more, I would say more autistic, but she
Mhm.
definitely has ADHD as well, but she doesn't recognize it, doesn't want to. And that's her
Yeah.
journey, and I'm not going to force that.
Yeah.
There's a funny story though. We went round there on Mother's Day a few months ago. Her and her partner cooked me and my partner dinner, and we're all sitting at the dinner table. And my daughter Ellie's doing something. I don't know what she was doing. She was like, she said something, yeah, because I don't really understand, obviously, because I'm not neurodivergent. And there was like me, my partner, and Ellie's partner, and none of us said. It was like, you know, like the tumbleweed, like we all just went silent. And it took her a few seconds to kind of acknowledge. And we all just sat there looking at each other. And she was like, what? You, I can't remember exactly what you all think. I said, Ellie, there's no doubt in my mind you're definitely neurodivergent. And she was just like, oh, but I think it's her journey. She needs to go on her journey.
Yes.
She needs to find out for herself what's going on. The funniest
Right.
thing that she ever said to me is if I ever if I have a child that's got ADHD, they're coming to live with you, mum. And I was like, oh yeah, that's all right. And she's like, I don't have patience for that. But I
Yeah.
think with me and my daughter, I think the more that I've learned about ADHD, but the more I've learned about my ADHD, and then the more that I sit down and have like explain things to her, like why I can't give you yes or no answers, physically impossible. I can't tell you if you've got any more cat food because I need to tell you the whole backstory.
Right.
But it's things like that. Like I talk to her, and since I've started explaining like why or what is going on, and the more that I sit down and talk to her and she understands, the better. There's less conflict between the two of us, and we've always had like a really strong, relationship. Like, she's 27 now. I raised her myself, and she's a midwife. She delivers babies, and academically, she's just like incredible. Like I just, it's almost like she's like my biggest kind of achievement in my life, because she's just completely different to how I was when I was her age.
Good job, Mom.
So yeah, thank you. And quite a few people have said that to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, but they're like, yeah, she gets her intelligence from you. And I've only realized that actually I do have a high level of intelligence.
Mhm.
I just have different ways to kind of show that. And it's only through my studies when I get the grades, and I'm like, oh, I still get surprised, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you're stuck in between the thick label and the academic success, kind of cringing, but trying to acknowledge that actually you are more than capable, and you do above average. It just takes so much more energy and so much more time, but that doesn't mean that you cannot achieve, because you can.
You can.
Absolutely. Even the difficult things like statistics and
Right.
quantitative research methods.
You can do hard things, and have, and that's the thing. It's like, and I love the fact that you call the podcast the project Reframed, because I think that's why I originally studied psychology, is because I feel like if I can understand what's going on in somebody's mind, if I can get the context is so important.
Yeah.
I need to know what's going on, that I can reframe that person's behavior and understand what's going on. Like, and then I'm not going to take it maybe the same way I would have otherwise, because I can now understand why it's happening and do something different.
Yeah.
And that's more really about reframing my lens and how I'm approaching a situation, because it's less about that person, because on my best day, I can only control me, right?
Yeah.
I can't control another person. So how that person chooses to move through the world is on them. But if I can give them some measure of grace by reframing whatever it is they're doing, so that it doesn't impact me the way maybe it would have with my RSD, then I can lessen that for myself, and kind of find a better space for me.
Yep. I would call that self-regulating, or co-regulating. Sometimes I'm triggered, sometimes things happen or things are said, and they're not necessarily meant in the way that I take them, but it triggers something in me from my past, and I need to kind of take a step back when that happens. Trying to understand like the ADHD and the complex PTSD is tough. The two things kind of ping each other off, particularly around the emotions, the RSD, emotional hyperarousal, like being oversensitive. And I have learned recently that when that happens, I know now I need to take a step back. I need to calm myself down. I need to either have a cuddle with my partner, or I just need to switch off from whatever's said or done or whatever. And then I need to try and kind of process what's going on from it. Like, why has that upset me? What even though the person didn't mean it in the way that they said it, it's like, why is that upsetting me? And then when I understand the why, then I can kind of calm myself down and then go back and manage the rest of the day. And it's really important to kind of, for me to be able to do that, because otherwise I'd just end up losing my temper or getting really angry, or just
or spiraling out of control and just going to a really dark place.
Yep, of course. And then you feel guilty because you've lost your temper, so you have to apologize. And so it's just kind of like trying to learn coping strategies in the moment. It doesn't always happen like that, but I think the more awareness that I get about what's going on for me, the more I can kind of manage that better.
Yeah, I think for me it's a two-step process. Like I said, I've got those stuck strategies that I've developed, and so those are for in that moment with that feeling. and stopping whatever that is, like you said, a cuddle with your partner or whatever. Like those are the things I need to do right now to stop what I'm feeling
Hmm.
so I can breathe, and then I can process the other piece and figure out what's going on. Because it's kind of that two-step process for me, because I can't process when I'm over processing
Yeah.
everything, and
Yeah.
that you get into that hyper emotional state, you cannot get out of that without actively doing something to stop it. So
Yeah.
I've got to stop it, then process, then I can move on.
Perfect. Exactly what I do. We just name it different things. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. So if there are any listeners that are newly diagnosed, self-diagnosed, waiting to be diagnosed, is there any advice you have for them?
I mean, I think for any of us, regardless of our healthcare systems, wherever we live, advocacy is the most important piece. You know, not giving up, continuing to go back. If you feel like you get a diagnosis and you're on medication and your medication isn't working, you are the expert on you. Talk to your physician, talk to whoever you need to continue to advocate for yourself. If you're not diagnosed and you really feel like it's important, you know, seek that out. But also, self diagnosis is just as important, because you're recognizing the patterns and you're recognizing the things. And so you just have to determine for yourself whether it really matters to have that actual label or not. For me, I needed to know. I had to have the label. Label isn't everything, but it just helped me to kind of put it in that box so that I could deal with it. But I would just say advocacy is the biggest piece. Advocate for yourself, don't stop, because
And if you can't,
we're worth it.
ask someone for help. Yeah.
Yeah,
If you need support, because you can't.
absolutely.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. So if is there any last little bit of reframing you'd like the listeners to know about?
I think I just want to end on the piece that is just, you know, if you're struggling, you know, reach out for support, but also remember to look at the things you have accomplished, the things you have done, because so many of us get stuck in what we've not accomplished or where we have failed, and we keep a list of these things in our minds of proof that these voices are true, that they're saying the right thing, and they're not. We have incredible brains that can do amazing things, and just keep track of those things, because those are the things that get us through, you know, apart from getting the support that we need.
It's beautiful. Yeah, and I think I would like to just say that just get inquisitive about yourself, like learn
Yeah.
about your diagnosis or your self-diagnosis, try and learn what your symptoms are, and you know, whatever it is, it's always going to be slightly different to another person, but
Mhm.
that's a good thing, because you know, we there's so much positive stuff that we have to offer, but you know, we're rarely given the environment or the comfortable space to do it. So just get
Yeah.
inquisitive, find out about your symptoms, find out what the things are that you find the most challenging, like we've discussed today. You know, with kind of reading and taking in information, we're both very an audio type of
Yeah.
person, but that's not necessarily the same for every student. So
Right.
it's just trying to find out what works best for you. And
Right.
then self-advocacy. And if you can't advocate for yourself, then please let me know, because I love advocacy.
Yes.
And I like, and I'm sure you do as well, Carrie. Like
Yes.
advocacy, I'm telling you, it's almost like it's my purpose. Like, you know,
Yeah. To help people
self-advocacy. But
navigate the system. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
You don't know what the resources are. I'll find them and tell you. Like, yeah.
Exactly. And it's just something that I've naturally done even before I was
Mhm.
diagnosed. But it is definitely what my purpose is. I enjoy it. Like, I know I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but
No.
I actually quite enjoy like the they're outspoken or respectfully, outspoken, and actually saying, no, I'm sorry, but that doesn't work. Like that's not enough, or that's, and just finding gaps in things, and then advocating for underrepresented, underprivileged people with no access to
Absolutely.
any support. Like that is my life's work. And if anyone is listening or watching us today and they need help or support, please get in contact, because I would happily advocate for you, because it's I don't know, it might sound a bit weird, but I
No,
absolutely I love it.
I
and
do
I
too.
enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
Which, and it's something that I've always done when I was working. I'm not currently working at the moment, but when I was working, I always did support work, but I was always like, I worked in housing, I worked with prolific offenders, I've worked with in mental health, in substance misuse, prolific self-harmers, I've worked with teenagers with mental health and learning disabilities. Like, I've got a full range of, but it's just the support worker side of me. But also, it's not just supporting people, it's fighting for them to kind of get access to a better quality of life. That's the thing that makes me tick. That's the thing that gets me out of bed. That is my purpose. Like, and if that's just the two of us, and I know there's thousands of millions of other people like us, but someone said to me a little while ago, why do you do it? And I'm like, but why not?
Why wouldn't you?
Exactly. Because, and I truly believe it's because I know how it feels to not be able to voice things yourself.
That
and
goes
I
back
think
to our
now I
empathy.
can. Yeah.
I don't want people to have to struggle the way I have. So let me tell you what I've experienced, knowing you may need something different, but there are solutions out there, and let's find them.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And I'm so like, but if we just sit quietly, then nothing's ever going to change. The whole purpose of like the podcast and the reframing is because there's not really anything else out there. There's other podcasts that do episodes on it, but this is,
But this is
and
really unique.
Exactly. And it's doing what I wanted it to do a lot quicker than I thought it was going to. But I'm not that's not a bad thing. That's an amazing thing. But it's like the whole purpose of it is not just about reframing ADHD, but it's talking about differences and then reframing any difference into a way that's like, there's a toxic negativity, also toxic positivity. I don't like the toxic negativity and the clickbait on social media, but if we've got things that I call gifts, if we've got things that we can do and we can do really, really well, because we've got ADHD or autism or whatever it is, then we should be able to celebrate them things, and we should be able to kind of learn to harness them so we can reach our full potential without toxic positivity or toxic. I'm just, my eyes roll. I'm just like, oh, just be quiet. Like, you'll see me having debates on LinkedIn. Because I'm one of the type of person that if I see something, I have to say something.
That's right.
So yeah, I'm a little bit like, and there's a few guests in the past that have said to me, that's why I wanted to come onto this podcast, because you just say it how it is, and I'm like,
no, that's it. So, but that's why I love this, and that's why I love that this is shining a light on this stuff, because there may be less research on it. I think there's probably a lot in the pipeline right now. We just don't know about it all yet. But this really does bring the narrative forward and shine a light on it.
Yeah, and I like, in my mind when I started this, it was like moving like, past the medical model and even past the social model, because I have issues with the social model of disability, and we're not, it's a story for another day, that is, but moving into like more of a strength-based approach, because that's the only thing that's enabled me to be able to see the fact. I had coaching. The lady I found on LinkedIn, her company's called Brilliantly Diverse. Saskia, the lady's name is, and she has a grant, so people can apply for the grant, and then you get the coaching. And without that, I wouldn't have been able to get access to it. But what the lady did in 3 or 4 months with me, and what actually I did, and I did in the the coaching sessions, it was a group coaching, but I had one-to-ones as well. As it was almost like just focusing on what my strengths were, not ignoring or dismissing any of the challenges, but just finding out what they were to start with, but then like just focusing on them and learning to harness them. So it was always, and you know, with ADHD, with autism, with anything, you get the negative narrative in your brain, but it's really like I can't. It was priceless for me because I felt it was the start of my self-acceptance. And it's not just changed like a few things, it's changed everything. And I wouldn't have started this podcast without that, because I didn't have the confidence to do it. And that was one of the tasks that I set myself when I was having my last couple of sessions with Saskia. And it's like, and she talked to me and walked me through it. And it was just like, without that, like, I mean, I don't know where I would be. And it was so profound, and it had such a huge kind of change and impact on me. And obviously I'm not a coach or anything, but that's the reframing bit just comes from that. Learning what is it that I can do and I can do really well, and how can I then harness that in everyday life. And
absolutely.
And if that just means I turn up and tell and say things in a way that everyone can understand, then that's my life's work.
Right. And it has value.
Well, exactly. People think I'm entertaining, and I'm like, I am. Okay. I'll try not to get involved, but then I'm like, no, I can't not get involved. So anyway, what a pleasure. I know it took us a while to get you booked in. I think you were super busy, and I've been busy as well, but what a pleasure it's been. I've really enjoyed talking to you today. Like I'd love for you to I'm tongue tied now. I would love for you to come back as well if you would be interested in that, because I think this is
because in here it can be completely different, right?
Yeah, exactly. Next week will be different.
That's right. Tomorrow, you know.
In an hour.
Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Honestly, it's been my pleasure. And I think I need to solve the live on YouTube thing, because I didn't realize that was going to happen, but I don't mind about it going live on YouTube. I don't really do a lot of editing anyway, but thank you, Carrie, for your time. Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I've thoroughly enjoyed kind of talking to you and learning a little bit more about your experiences and talking about my experiences. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
To the listeners, if these conversations have resonated with you, then please hit follow, and if they will resonate with someone else, then please share. And yes, I will put the links to Carrie and her social media platforms in the description of this podcast episode. To everyone, thank you for listening or watching us, and it's been fun. So goodbye for now. Right, I'm just gonna press stop, but if you could wait for a minute maybe before you go, because I need to make sure it's gonna load, and I don't know what's going to happen with the live thing either.